and welcome. My name's Safa.
I am Raven.
And this is Book Talk Insider Edition. For today's episode, we've got Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. But before that, we have an interview at the end with
DARCY THEO.
Stay tuned for that, where we've got information on this book, on his upcoming books, and just a whole bunch of that.
His view on Book Talk and also Instagram Talk as well.
Yes.
So yeah.
I think it's...
Insta Talk?
No,
Insta Book. Bookster?
Bookstagram.
Bookstagram.
There you go.
Well done.
Right, took us a while, but we got there.
Yeah. We've been through every possible combination. So yeah, stick around for that. You're not going to want to miss it. Now, this book, Song of Achilles, is one of Safa's favourites. Yeah, I have not read it on the other hand. And so this episode is basically Safa trying to convince me to read it. Mm-hmm. And I'll ask her some questions about it. So first of all, do you want to start with the blurb?
I will start with the blurb. Alright. Greece in the ages of heroes. Awkward young prince Patroclus has been exiled to the court of King Peleus. Despite their differences, Peleus' golden boy Achilles befriends the shamed prince. As they grow into young men, their bond blossoms into something deeper, despite the displeasure of Achilles' mother, the sea goddess Thetis. But when word comes that Helen of Sparta has been kidnapped, Achilles must go to war in distant Troy and fulfill his destiny. Torn between love and fear for his friend, Patroclus goes with him. Ta-da! Oh.
Trying to bounce.
Right, okay, hold on. Ta-da! There you go.
So yeah, first do you want to talk about the writing style of this book?
Right. So with Madeline Miller, because I've read more than one of her book, I think Circe, and she's got a pattern of really poetic, a writing style.
Yeah.
Like it's like really beautiful in a way. And I'm going to steal this bit from DARCY THEO and say that it's lyrical. And I'd say it's like almost like music, but you're reading it. And I think that's what really makes her stand out, and especially this age of writing. And honestly, at this point, I feel like everyone thinks they can become a writer.
Yeah.
Not to shun everyone, sorry, but it's just like Wattpad writing, and then but being published, and it's like let's actually put some thought behind what we're writing, and that's exactly what Madeline Miller does with hers.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's some of that makes her stand out as an author, because I've never actually read another author that writes like her, especially, I'd say it's more classical, her type of writing, but classical in a way where it's not boring, like A Picture of Dorian Gray, let's be real, guys, or Shakespeare, again, let's be real, guys. Controversial, but he's overrated.
Oh God, yeah, so overrated.
100%.
There's so many books now, and there's so many better books that you can actually understand because they're in actual English.
Exactly. Like I feel like he was only popular because during his time, throwing rocks at walls were counted as fun. Like I've been seeing, like, well, of course he was going to be popular then, but now in this day and age,
there's nothing else to do.
Let him rest. Let him and his books rest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what really makes Madeline Miller stand out.
So do you want to tell me a bit about like the story itself and contents?
So basically, it's more of a retelling of the Iliad. Spoilers, even though it's like written like
this
a
entire
million years
podcast
ago.
is just spoilers for books.
Yeah.
At this point.
I'm just gonna put a little warning between, like, before, because they might not start from the first episode.
Yeah, true.
Which, if you haven't,
what are you doing?
What are you
doing?
Go back. Stop here.
It's an amazing episode. Go watch the other one.
On YouTube, and by the time we post this, maybe Spotify.
Hopefully, we're working on it.
Yeah, we're working on that one.
Some other podcast things. Follow us on Instagram. You'll find out all the updates.
So it basically follows the Iliad, but it's a retelling where instead of friends, Achilles and Patroclus are lovers. And what can I say? It's like you never really get bored, and when you feel like you might, she puts something in, and then it just keeps you reading. It strings you along, but in the way where the length of the book gets you attached to the characters. So it's not too quick for it to be over, like You've Reached Sam.
Yeah.
But it's long enough so you're not bored. So it's not like, because it's not that big of a book. It's like medium size. So
it's just like your standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, your standard book size.
So you're not reading forever, but you're reading long enough to feel like you have an emotional connection to the characters. And I think that's what also really adds to the plot. I need to stop touching it.
I balanced it perfectly and you messed up twice. But no, it's not too short that it's like, oh well, that was like 2 seconds. I didn't feel any emotions during that. But also not too long that it's like, I've been reading this for 45 years and I've still not finished it.
Because a lot of books can seem like that, but then
Oh
this
God,
one,
yeah.
I think it's just perfect.
I had that with You Reach Sam. I was like, it took me a while to finish it because, I don't know, I feel like I wasn't too emotionally invested. I don't know. But I'm a slow reader as it is.
And one thing I also like about this is there's not flashbacks. I hate flashbacks in books. For
Some
like
of
it
them are
just
so confusing.
yeah, and it's like it just takes so long to get to the actual. Like I don't care about the past. Give me now. And then this it goes in like chronological order.
I feel like some writers go for, like, what would it look like if it was a movie? And
What do you
so,
mean by that?
like, in movies, they add flashbacks to add more to the plot. And so, like, what if I got, like, a movie adaptation of this? Oh my god, it'd be so cool to add a flashback in here.
Like there's some books that I feel like are written to be made into movies, and I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like that's more Colin Hoover's right type of writing. Like it's not entertaining enough for me to read. Like if you're gonna write a book, it has to have that extra bit of entertainment. Because at the end of the day, it's writing on paper, so you've got to go all out for entertainment.
Yeah, literally.
Whereas for a movie, they can relax a little bit, and I feel like that's Colin Hoover's writing.
Yeah. So, you mentioned it a little bit, but do you want to talk about the decision to make this a LGBTQIA plus book?
So, guys, as we know in the past, they've always been put down to be as friends, partners, warriors together.
History
never
hates
lovers.
lovers.
There we go. But I feel like adding romance into this book really took it a whole step further, because with friendship, there's boundaries that you can like that you're restricted to because there's not much to write about. But whereas love, there really is no bounds, and so I just feel like she took that and she went with it. Not, you know what? I've already said there's spoilers, so sorry for the spoilers, babe.
It's alright.
Are you okay with spoilers?
Yeah, I'm fine
Right,
with spoilers.
so-
The amount of things I watch on like YouTube, I watch like a Trixie, Mattel, and Cassia watch. I'm probably not gonna watch this, so I'm just gonna watch them watch a Netflix show. So I feel like I've watched the Netflix show, so I'm okay with the spoilers.
This is you reading the book.
This is like, yeah.
Right, so obviously Patroclus dies at the end of the book.
Jesus!
Little you said you were okay with. Right, I'm never trusting you again now. Never trusting you again.
Sorry, but
No.
I understand like a little bit of spoiler, just like, oh yeah, they like I don't know, like someone breaks
Why'd
up
you
or
go
something
so
for a bit.
hesitant to
But
say
no,
it?
someone dies.
Yeah. Obviously he dies at the end of the book, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. And with friends, really, what can you do with that? But as lovers, Achilles was like, he ran out of hiding, despite his like promise to himself and how stubborn he was. That what's his name? Agamemnon. Pretty sure. Yeah, we're just gonna go with that. Like, despite all of
I really
that.
hope we get comments that is like, no, it's this, you
No,
idiot.
guys, I googled it. No, I didn't. I YouTubed it. Pronunciation of what the fuck his name is. Right.
Agamemnon.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone. And he rushed down. He was like, he killed the guy that killed Patroclus. And then by then, after he survived, he was like, what the fuck's the point in living? And so he let himself be killed by the enemy. He was like, oh, all of this drama, you would have never gone out from a friendship. But you have
The
it here.
tea is hot.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just so much things that just mean so much more because they're lovers. And I think
Yeah.
it was a great decision.
I feel like you can have definitely strong friendships in real life and in books and stories and stuff like that. But when it comes to love, which is an emotion that a lot of people, it's a universal feeling in some ways. And it's like, you can definitely explore more of it. And it's understood by everyone. It's like, yeah, I love someone so much, I'm willing to murder someone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
just think
definitely... Yeah.
probably the better decision in this book to make it LGBTQ.
Yeah. I think we definitely need more queer books out there. I'm on the side of Book Talk, which is all like everyone's saying, oh, there's no sapphic recommendations, and it's like, here you go, here you go, here you go. But yeah, I think we definitely need like it more sapphic and like gay men. Like, we need more books. There's too many straight books.
We also need more well-written books, please.
Oh god, yeah.
Please. Just because it has...
Just because it has enemies to lovers does make it a good book.
Exactly. Like, just because it has the whole one-bed trope doesn't mean it's a good book. Just because it ticks off the tropes that you want.
A one-bed trope. We need to
Not
talk
heard
about
of
this
it.
off
Yeah,
the podcast.
No, we're talking about it now.
Oh god.
It's like they'll go in and fucking Is what?
Is that porn?
No, guys. Guys, don't know about that. Like, they'll go in and, like, into a motel because they're forced to stay the night. And then the receptionist will be like, there's only one room left. They'll be like, okay. They walk
It's
into
like,
the room.
okay, Nazareth.
Oh, there's only one bed. But you know what's so fucking annoying? And one of them goes, I'll sleep on the floor. And they agree. What the fuck are you talking about? Get on them. You know what?
No. Okay.
Obviously PG, guys. Obviously PG.
Obviously, they can have a slumber party and read
That's what I'm
books and
talking
watch
about.
movies together.
That's what I'm talking about. So we're just gonna.
No, I'm the
We're just
person
gonna
who
end
sleeps on the floor.
Yeah, we're just gonna end this here, guys. I don't know what I was about
We're
to
gonna
say
have an
next.
intervention.
Yeah. I don't know what I was about to say next, so let's just forget about it.
No, this is something we're gonna talk about later.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
You're such an idiot.
that's all I've got, guys.
Oh
Yeah,
my
that's all I've
God.
got to say. Do you feel convinced reading this book?
I'm gonna give it a crack once I get down. I have so many books I have to get through. Currently reading, I mentioned it in our interview that's coming up now. Currently reading a book about two lesbian basketball players. I think they're cheerleaders or basketball players. I can't remember. I'm not that far into it. And I'm like, I don't
How do you
understand.
not know if they're chill?
I think one of them's a cheerleader. I'm not sure. No, they're both basketball players. Both basketball players. I don't know where I got cheerleaders from. But no, they both play basketball. I'm like, I don't know any of these terminologies. But I have so many books I need to get through. I'm like, okay, this is the one that I'm going to do next. And then this one, and then this one. And then eventually, hopefully by the end of the year, I'll be finished with all the books that I've bought in the last 2 years. Oh, it's stressful, guys. I've got too much stuff going on.
Just to, like, make sure what I was talking about before is completely PG. Can't stop the guys, I promise. I promise. Okay, let's move on.
Welcome to Smut Talk now.
Because I wasn't on about that, please.
Right. So, yes, I have been convinced to eventually read this book.
Actually, let's talk about smut.
No, that's a different
like,
episode. We
every
have to move
book
on to our
does not
interview.
need
Shut
sex.
up. No,
I'm
shut
sick
up.
of it. I'm actually sick of it.
Shush.
Not every book needs it. Let's
Okay.
just end it, please.
Okay. I'm going to have intervention with this one. Now, we are going to be swiftly moving on to our interview with Andy Darcy THEO. We would like to thank him once again for responding to us and doing this interview. He is such an amazing person. We had a great chat. I could have talked for ages, but I had a meeting. So, yeah, we had a great time. I want to thank him again. And also thank you to people who are interested in his work for interacting with us on Instagram. Sadly, we did see a bunch of questions that people sent in, but after we did the interview. But hoping that we did cover some of the topics that you did mention
I'd say we
in the
did
DMs.
cover
I think we
most-
covered most of
yeah.
them.
Most of the topics you guys mentioned, we did cover anyways. But thank you very much for interacting.
Yeah, thank you. Much appreciated. And yeah, make sure if you don't already follow our Instagram, you'll get updates quite regular on what's happening with the podcast, when we're going to be posting. We need to post something saying that this one's going to be late because it took us ages to record. Like, subscribe, hit the bells, comment.
To this YouTube channel, guys.
Tell
You
your
can
friends.
Do it. Your mum can do it. Your dad, everyone can do it. Your family, your friends, your neighbours, your librarian, anyone who reads books. You don't even have to read books. Like your teachers. That's what I got, guys.
Right. So this is our interview with Andy Darcy THEO.
Wait, drum roll.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Can you hear us properly?
I can, yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I'm alright, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Just been busy at work. So nice to meet you. I'm Andy. Nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you. I'm Raven. I'm Safa.
Hi, Safi. You okay?
Yeah, I'm alright, thank you. Right, so how did you first get into books?
As a reader or as a book talk? To be fair, I've always been a reader. I was a reader from when I was around 7, 8, and 9. But then I stopped reading around school just because of social pressure that reading wasn't a cool thing to do anymore. So I stopped reading around school, and then I didn't have time for it during A-levels and university. And then I've fallen back into it, and reading was what kickstarted my passion for writing as well. So when I started picking up my books to start writing them again, I fell back in love with reading, and then now I'm just an avid reader. And the book talk community and the Bookstagram community as well has really made me feel more prideful in being a reader. I don't feel any sort of embarrassment.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So, leading on to that, how did you get into talking about books on TikTok?
That honestly started purely from a business point of view where I wanted to appeal to my audience of people that I would hopefully one day sell to. So I originally started, so I was on Bookstock anyway, just stalking the accounts just because I was a reader and it was nice to see the books that I had once read and like new recommendations. But when I initially started my account, it was to try and find an audience that I could sell my books to, which I had only just started rewriting again. So then I started like making book talk videos about my book and then learning about the craft. And then the more I fell into it, the more I realized that I enjoyed reading other people's books and wanted to share reviews and funny videos. And then they were the videos that also were quite popular at the time as well. So I thought this can be mutually beneficial. I can read books that I want to read and talk about them whilst growing an audience and having videos of my own book that's going to be coming out to kind of like soft launch it or warm launch it. So it initially started as a sales perspective, and then over the years it's become because I genuinely just love being a reader and wanting to share that enthusiasm with everyone else through like funny videos and reviews and recommendations.
That's really cool. So you've mentioned a bit about your book. So what sort of inspired you to make your own book after being a reader for years?
I actually started writing when I was 13 years old, and it was an English project in school. So they asked us to write a one-page story that ended on a cliffhanger. And I came back with a 40-page story that ended on a cliffhanger. And I was like, this is so cool. And I just really loved it. And it had all of my favorite things from the media that I was consuming at that point in time as well. And it kind of became my coping mechanism for quite like a difficult time when I was younger. And it was a form of escapism to write and then to create storylines and to write convey messages that were meaningful to my personal life at that moment in time, and then to create other characters that were going through other issues and other cool plot storylines and plots. And then I started writing the sequel. So I wrote the second book, and then I wrote the third book, and I started rewriting it, and then stopped writing during A level, stopped writing during university, and then COVID hit, and my girlfriend actually said, "You've mentioned your books years ago. Are they still important to you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, my first tattoo is dedicated to my books when I was 18." And she said, "Well, why have you thought about going back to them?" So I went back to them and then just instantly fell in love, and I've been writing them ever since. So that was in 2020 during COVID that I started rewriting my book series. And last year was when I got made my first book deal. And it's for the first two books, and I've already got the first three rewritten.
You know, whilst rewriting your books, do you think like the BookTok community and the videos on TikTok have affected the plot or anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of romance, absolutely. The story itself is maintained quite stable over the years. It's always been I've always had the main character with a history of psychosis because that comes from a family history, and it's always an area that I was interested in. Even before I became a clinical psychology assistant, I was always interested in psychosis and schizophrenia. And in terms of the quest and the characters, all of that has remained absolutely the same. But in terms of my quality of writing, the themes that I'm drawing on more, like the revenge arcs, and then also making it a romantasy as opposed to a fantasy with a romance subplot. So I've increased the level of romance because it will appeal to a wider audience. And I realized I really like reading romantasy books and writing the romantasy scenes as well.
Yeah, you're just writing along. It's like, okay, what would book talk like? Okay, more romance, more. We need more of this.
And then it started off as they like that. Then I thought, I really like that. Well, I want to write a book that I would want to read. And I started
Yeah.
writing it. And then I also enjoy writing the actual scenes. And then it just became one of those like mutually beneficial things that I'm hoping, and it more content ideas as well, but primarily because it's important to the story. And it was always there. I've just inflated its importance, I guess, or made it more of a prominent theme.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's like you want to write something that you're excited about as well, but also you
Mhm.
have the aspect of, okay, what are my followers gonna like? What will they still like this if I had
Yeah.
this? And I think that's a
Yeah.
really cool perspective that you got.
Is when you speak to publishers as well, it's all well and good writing a book that you love, but it needs to be marketable as well.
Yeah.
Um, and and that helped me realize that I need to take myself out of the equation and think about the readers and what they would want to read as well. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked a bit about TikTok. So you say you're on your For You page. Book Talk will be coming up quite often. Do you find that is a reliable source for good recommendations, or are just people trying to get views? What do you think?
That's a really good question. I think it depends on the account that produces it. I think that there are some accounts that I trust the reviewer because I know what their tastes are like, and I know that they're not producing videos for views, but rather to share actual good book recs. So I trust those reliable viewers. The ones, however, that you see that go more viral are typically the ones that look more aesthetic and I've got books that appeal to a wider audience, which aren't always the ones I've enjoyed. So I've read a lot of books that are not the best written or maybe like the most engaging, but I've read them because of books recommending them as being this kind of amazing thing. And I feel like, oh, I'm not involved in it, so I don't get the hype. And then there's other books where I'm like, oh my God, thank God I follow these people because these have given me some of my strongest book recs. So like A Cruel Prince and The Poppy War and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, all from BookTok.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite trilogies, all three of them.
Would you recommend the Poppy Walk? Because it's been on my list for a while.
I would, but it isn't without flaws. I think it's it's an amazing story. It's so incredibly well written, but Ara Kwong, and she's an amazing writer, but there's not much subtlety. It's very much like this is what happened, and we're going to tell you it at face value in a lot of detail. So there's like 4 or 5 pages in a chapter about military details, which not really essential, but it shows how much she's researched it as well. So I would recommend it. It's really good. It's really traumatic. So do read the trigger warnings if you are susceptible to that sort of stuff. And it is a bit of a grind. But looking back on it, I'm really glad that I read the trilogy.
You said that reminds me, I mentioned in our last episode that I started reading a book a few weeks ago, and it starts off just talking about all this basketball terminology. And I'm like, I do not know anything about sport, so I'm just gonna have to switch between the book and Google when I do this one.
Yeah. It's one of those ones where it's like it shows how much the research, but that's actually is it integral to the plot? Like too much world building. It's like not needed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, book talk books. Is there a book talk author that pops up quite a lot that you're just like, no, I cannot deal with another one of their books? Like you don't particularly like their style or just anything?
There are quite a lot of book talkers on BookTok, and I've read a lot of their books. So, like, I'm currently reading Powerless by Lauren Roberts, who's really prominent. I've read, they both die at the end. I'm going to start reading Iron Widow, and I know that the author's prominent. I've read Red Queen. I've read Lightlark. I've read some of the popular authors, but there are some that I just don't gel with as much, or maybe they're not, or maybe I feel like I've passed that kind of age range potentially. But yeah, there are some books where I see the same videos produced and it's the same quotes and it's the same tropes and it feels a little bit repetitive and a bit redundant and it's not for me. But it seems to be working. They're getting thousands of views and hundreds of readers. So you do you.
On the flip side of that, is there anyone that you want to shout out or recommend that you like go back to and you're like, yes, I love this book. Keep on doing more. I need more of this.
So I love the Holly Jackson's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and I've making anyone that will listen to me read it. I really like it. I think it's so well written. It's so quick. It's very YA, but I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I devoured that series. And I met her in person. And she's lovely as well. There's loads of books that are on my TBR, but I'm such a slow reader, and I'm a writer, and I'm a full-time worker, so it's hard to kind of keep up with all of that. But yeah, and then there's just other peers in the field that are just so supportive. So Sarah Underwood, who wrote Lies We Sing to the Sea, I haven't got around to reading her book yet, but she's been so helpful in my author journey. So she's amazing. Rosie Talbot has been incredible. I had a meeting with her when I first got made a publishing deal because our editor was the same editor. So she's lovely as well. Yeah, there's so many people that are just genuinely good people that in a field where I feel like a little freshy, they've been really, really supportive.
Yeah, this is really sweet. Yeah, that was fantastic.
Because you know this episode, it's going to be on Song of Achilles. So have you read that?
I have, yeah, loved it.
So did I. Honestly, I think it was really well written. And what was
Yeah, I think yeah. So I read it a little while ago and then I reread it on paperback. And it's just the thing that I love most about Madeline Miller's writing that a lot of people can't replicate is her prose. She writes really lyrical writing that kind of entraps you, and it does. Maybe it's not the most action packed and it's not the most pacey, and there's sections that could be cut out. But I really admire the fact that she must have thought to keep them in because it helps to pave the theme of the story. So I constantly reread the final sentence about the golden urns exploding and the hands reaching for each other in darkness because it's so vivid. But I think I have to admit I prefer Circe to the Song of Achilles, which is another one of Madeline Miller's books, and I think that was a really powerful story as well. And it's slightly underrated in comparison. And I read that it was an audiobook and really profound. I loved it.
I've started it, but I haven't got around to finishing it yet.
It's it's I like it a lot. Again, it's slow, but it's just one of those ones where you're not there for the plot, you're there for the way that it makes you feel.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to mention or shout out?
What I would like to shout out Bookstagram. I only recently joined Bookstagram a few months ago, and it's just changed my social media journey. I love it so much. I feel like I almost connect better to the people on Bookstagram because it's a lot more personal platform. Whereas with BookTok, it kind of seems a little bit more, because it's so popular, it feels kind of like it's like one in many. Whereas like I find a really good group of supporters on Book, and I'm going up hundreds of followers every day. Bookstagram is one of those things I didn't anticipate liking so much, but I really, really enjoy it. So I'd like to shout out to any connections I've made on Bookstagram because, yeah, they revolutionised the game.
That's really cool. Yeah, thank you again so much for getting back to us, and thank you for joining us for our podcast.
All right, thank you. Have a lovely day, guys.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was the interview with Andy, Darcy, Theo. We hope that you enjoyed. We had a great time.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Make sure to check him out on all his socials, TikTok, Instagram, all that jazz. Book pre-sales as well.
Open on April 20.
Something.
We mentioned it in the
interview. Go back. Rewatch it.
It's just, I'm pretty sure it was a couple seconds ago, guys. You can do it.
Yeah, just go back. But yeah, it's in his links for things and stuff like that. So thank you so much for joining us for our second episode of this podcast. We love you and hope that you'll come back.
Yeah. Come back. DM us, tell us your recommendations for the next episode.
Yeah, tell us books that you want us to recommend. We've got a lot of books that I've read, that she's read. So we might just do this individual sort of thing where it's like, hey, here's a book that I recommend to you. And you're like, no, it's terrible. Or, yeah, let's give it a try. So, yeah, tell us what we should do.
I think that's all from me.
Yeah, I think that's all from us.
This has been Book Talk Insider Edition. Tune in for next time. Goodbye.
Bye.